Welcome back, Pokemon fans. Angel of the Night here. We have an exciting tutorial video here for you today. We are going to be taking Pokemon from Generation 1, sending them to Generation 3, and then sending them all the way up to Generation 9. Now, I know what you're thinking, Corey, how is this possible? Generation 1 and Generation 2 do not communicate. Well, we found a new method which was actually created by a GitHub user of the names of Gears Progress, and we are going to be using their .gba file that they created that allows the proper conversion from a Game Boy Color to a Game Boy Advanced using, now this is where it gets interesting, actual hardware. So we will be using a Game Boy Color and a Game Boy Advanced with a Game Boy Color link cable. That's right, guys, an actual link cable in 2024. This is insane. But we are going to be doing this here with Pokemon Red here today. And of course, we will be using Pokemon Emerald. Now, I know you guys can't see the green because I'm using a green screen, but we will be taking Pokemon that I obtained back in 1998 and sending them through to this Pokemon Emerald game card. It will convert them into a Pokemon Gen 3 file, and then we will be following the process of transferring the Pokemon all the way up to the most recent game of Pokemon Scarlet. So, without further ado, we are going to jump in here. I'm going to show you, and we will walk through this as we go. I will put a link in the description for the GitHub page, as well as a list of everything that you're going to require. So if we go over to the GitHub page for Gears Progress, you're going to see the Pokemon Transporter GB app. Now to do this, go down here right above my head here where it says Releases. And for the purpose of this tutorial, because I know it fully functions, we are going to be using version 2.2. When I used version 2.3, there was a little bit of a glitch there with this game card, which is the Easy Flash Omega. So it didn't actually allow me to do it 100% without any kind of glitching on the card. I'm hoping that 2.4 is probably a little bit more stable. But for the purpose of this, we are going to be using version 2.2. So go in and download your 2.2, just click onto the little drop down for the assets, and download the .gba. Now, because every game card is different, I will not be showing you the copying it over to the SD card, so I will have to assume you guys know how to copy a file to your SD card to play on your Easy Flash Omega. If you do have this, to my knowledge, it's just onto the root of the SD card you have to place that file. So, once you've actually done that, we will actually load up the actual two games. We have to load up the Game Boy Color, and we have to load up the Game Boy Advanced. I'm going to let you guys know a little bit ahead of time that I did a pre-recording, and I've decided to re-record it as I go through the process, because I couldn't get the commentary right as I was going forward. But because I do not have a way of capturing the analog pocket and using the link cable at the same time, the Game Boy side, which is on the left, is pre-recorded. So we're going to walk through that as we go. So first things first, we are going to take our Easy Flash Omega. We're going to pop it into the Game Boy Advance consolizer. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to turn on the consolizer. And again, this is a Game Boy Advanced, but it just has a mod that outputs the video over HDMI. So I can capture it with my Elgato. So as you can see here, we've got the Pokemon Transporter apps on here. And for the purpose of this tutorial, we will be doing the 2.2 version of this app. So now here's the next thing. The Easy Flash Omega has the capability of what's called multi-boot. And this allows you to load the app on the Game Boy Advanced, but then it allows you to eject the Easy Flash Omega and put in your Pokemon Emerald copy. To do a multi-boot, you have to hold the L button and press A to do your clean boot. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so this is going to boot up my Easy Flash Omega and boot up .gba file for the Poke Transporter GB. Now it tells us here, the Pokemon save file was not successfully loaded. Please remove and reinsert the game pack and then press the A button. So this is where you're actually going to take that game card out of the Game Boy Advanced, take your Pokemon Emerald copy, and pop it into the GBA. Once you've done so, you are going to press the A button. As you guys can see here, it's loading up some text. Poké Transporter GB was made out of love and appreciation for the Pokemon franchise, with no profits in mind. It will always be free. Please support the original developers, Nintendo and Game Freak. So while it's actually doing this, this is loading up the .gba app Poké Transporter. Next, I'm going to take my Game Boy Color link cable. This is a Game Boy Color and an original Game Boy link cable from back in the day. If you have a Game Boy Advance link cable, this is not going to work. Okay, so make sure it's Game Boy Color. So I'm going to pop it into my analog pocket here. As you guys can see, the video is currently paused. So we're plugging in this, taking our Pokemon Red, and we are going to turn this on. As you guys can see here, we are going into play cartridge. And just to show you, it is playing. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. As you guys can hear, the audio is working. So we are actually loading up Pokemon Red. Okay. Next, we're going to take the other end and plug it into our Game Boy Advance consolizer. I'm going to hit play on this little video that I've got onto the left-hand side. So as you can see, we're actually going through and turning on the analog pocket. Okay, we're going to go through to the play cartridge, just like I did here. Okay, here we go. We're loading into the game save there now. Now, with that being said, there's a couple of additions that I did a little bit differently than what you're seeing on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you the Pokemon that we're going to be trading here. Now, this is actually my original team that I had from 1998 and in my Pokemon Yellow in 1999. So we do have, we're going to have my Charizard, we're going to have my Squirtle, we're going to have my Pikachu, we're going to have my Mewtwo, and we are going to have Mew and Dragonite. Now, these Pokemon are actually going to be placed into box number 1. Now, the Pokemon, once they're in box number 1, we are going to save the game, and then we are going to communicate with this Poké Transporter GB app. I'm just going to pause the video here for just a moment. On the Game Boy Transporter, we're going to go to where it says Transfer Pokemon. However, any Pokemon that you actually transfer through the app will register in what's called the Dream Dex. As you can see here, I did do a test of this earlier. We have already registered Charizard, Squirtle, Butterfree, Beedrill, Pidgeot, and so on and so forth. This is kind of a neat little method that allows you to kind of keep track of what Pokemon you have yet to transfer over to the Generation 3 games. If you hit the B button and go back to Transfer Pokemon, hi Trainer, before we begin, I need to ask you a few questions. What language is the Game Boy game that you're transferring from? Now, to my knowledge, according to the notes on the GitHub page, currently right now, English is the only supported version. Now, newer versions, of course, probably have been updated to allow different versions. So we're going to select English. And which Game Boy Pokemon game are you transferring from? Now, it's important to go ahead and select the correct version, so we are using Pokemon Red. Perfect. That's all the information I need. Let's get started. So I'm going to hit play on my video here once again. On a second Game Boy family system, please load the Game Boy Pokemon game you wish to transfer from. In your Game Boy Pokemon game, make your current box the one you want to transfer from. Then, connect this Game Boy Advance to the other Game Boy family system using a Game Boy Color link cable. Once you're ready, press A on the device and talk to the Cable Club attendant, and then initiate the trade. Okay, please apply here. Before opening the link, we have to save the game. Alright, link was successful. And we are clicking into the trade. So if this works, this should automatically start transferring data. And it actually ends up manipulating the game save on the other Game Boy in order to transfer your Pokemon over to the actual console. So we're transferring data, please wait. We'll give this just a minute here. Should take only moments there to actually transfer the information. And when it's complete, it's going to show you what Pokemon you can send over. You then have the option of sending the Pokemon and then sending back. Now, there's a little bit of a situation with Mew and Celebi, Generation 1 and Generation 2. It'll actually convert them to being compatible with Generation 3. So it says here, it looks like you have a rare mythical Pokemon. Due to their rarity, it seems they've corrupted the machine. I can stabilize them if you'd like, but it'll change some things like name, original trainer, and shininess. Otherwise, I can leave them as is, but there's no guarantee that they'll be transferable in the future. Do you want me to stabilize them? I'm going to click yes. We're going to see what happens. Great, let's take a look at the Pokemon that will be transferred. Please remember, once a Pokemon is transferred, it cannot be returned to the Game Boy Game Pack. Select Confirm once you're ready, or select Cancel if you want to keep the Pokemon on your Game Boy Game Pack. So it's telling me that we have Squirtle, Pikachu, Dragonite, Charizard, Mewtwo, and Mew. So let's go down here and click Confirm. Amazing! Fantastic! Everything went perfectly. You may now turn off your other Game Boy family system. It looks like there's at least one new Pokemon here that isn't in the Dream Dex. I'll give them something extra sweet as a reward for you both. Now, if you guys looked at the other screen actually told us that the Pokemon were removed from the box. So let's just reload it here for a second. We'll go back there and just take a peek. So if you go to where it says release, there are no Pokemon here. So that's telling you that this app on the Game Boy Advanced modified our original Pokemon Red game card and took the Pokemon out of box number 1. So let's take a look here. We are going to click A, and it says here, I'm going to send these Pokemon to my friend Lynette so you can pick them up. They live on Route 114. Did you know that they developed the storage system for the Hoenn region? My younger sister developed a version of the storage system too. So Lynette is a good friend of ours. Thank you so much. And whenever you want to transfer more Pokemon, just let me know. See you around. So this is the point where you can actually turn off your Game Boy Advanced. Okay, so now that we actually got the Emerald copy up here, we're going to take a look at Pokemon Emerald. Now there's a couple things that you need to know when you go in to do this. And there we go. I thought my controller died for a minute. Let's go ahead and hit start. Load up the game save. Now, we are currently in a Pokemon Center. Now, where are we? So we're actually in Lily Cove City. I'm going to tell you guys about this in a little bit, but we are going to fly to a very specific location. We are going to go to where Lynette's house is. So we actually got to fly all the way back to Falibor Town. And then we got to go make our way to Lynette's house. There's a little bit of a mod or a little glitch that they actually ended up doing that injected a script into the game that inputs your Pokemon that were transferred into the PC. So let's go down to Lynette's house. Good old Super Nintendo controllers, guys. They were able to do different directions. Okay, wild Pokemon, get out of the way, Lotad! We've got important things to do here. We've got to pick up our Pokemon from Generation 1. Okay, so you're coming to this location here, and that is Lynette's house. Now, if you are wondering exactly where we are, we're going to open up the Dex Nav, or Pokenav, sorry. Go to the Hoenn map, and you can see now we are currently on Route 114. Okay, now if everything is correct, this should be giving us a different text than normal. Hey, Corey, Professor Fennel told me that you'd be coming by for these Pokemon. Corey's Pokemon were sent to the PC. Thanks for helping out Fennel. So what that's done is that has now injected those Pokemon into my PC. So let's go back to a Pokemon Center here. Now for ease of use, we are going to fly back to Lily Cove City. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit. That's a key thing, especially if you're transferring Pokemon from Generation 3 to Generation 4. But we'll get into that in a minute. Go into your Pokemon Center, and if you take a look at your PC, you should now have your Pokemon from those games. So in box number 10, we have Squirtle, and if we take a look here, it's actually added your abilities for you, but the big thing is that it's kept the OT name and the ID. So if you take a look, that OT's name is Norris. Now, Norris was a childhood friend of mine who ended up trading me their Squirtle, and I raised it up to level 100, mainly because of the anime back in the day. But Squirtle is pretty boss, let's be honest. So our ID number is 63993. It's also added our ability, which is the Torrent ability, and has also given us a nature. So based off of the effort values and the stats of the other Pokemon from Generation 1 and 2, it'll convert it the same way as it would if it were going through the Virtual Console to Pokemon Home. Now, as you're going to see here, it's actually taken off the attack Surf. So Surf is no longer a thing on this Pokemon. That's because it is a hidden move. So it's actually taken Surf off of the Squirtle. And if we go into the next Pokemon, we've got my Pikachu from my Pokemon Yellow. It's a hardy nature, it's my OT, and my ID number is 61227. It's got the ability Static. Now if we take a look, this Pikachu had Surf from Pokemon Stadium. It's actually removed Surf for us, so we did not have to worry about removing it going forward in the future. Let's take a look at the next Pokemon, Dragonite. Now Dragonite has Inner Focus with Hardy Nature. Its OT is Ash, which was my very first copy of Pokemon Red back in the day, and the ID number is 15276. We take a look here, Surf is still on Dragonite. So the app did not fully remove all the HMs, however we will have to use the move deleter later on to remove Surf. Let's take a look at Charizard. Now this Charizard is my original starter Pokemon back from 1998. It is timid, has the ability Blaze, and it actually had Fissure in the previous generation, but was removed in Generation 3. Now it still has Cut, so we'll have to talk to the move deleter here shortly. Let's take a look at Mewtwo. Mewtwo, this is owned by Red. 08317 is the ID. Pressure is the ability. Hardy is the nature. Fire Blast, Recover, Blizzard, and Thunderbolt. This thing destroyed back in the day. It basically covered everything. Now, obviously, I didn't know about, the whole stab scenario, but we got some pretty cool moves on this thing. Everybody was envious of this Mewtwo, and it destroyed a lot of people. Next Pokemon is my Mew. Now, it looks like here the OT was changed. Now, that's because of the whole stability thing. Mew and Celebi, back in the day, were only obtainable through certain events and certain glitches. Now, in order to correct that, this is what they ended up having to do. They had to change the OT as well as the ID numbers in order to get them to work. Now, this one here has Synchronize and Hasty, and it has Pound and Transform. So it actually ended up modifying the entire Mew and put it back to level 10. It's not perfect. They did state it wasn't going to transfer properly, but I had to give it a shot just for this video. So this is not necessarily my original Mew, but at least it transferred Mew. That's pretty important. So with that being said, we are going to have to take our Charizard, put it in the party, And we are going to take the Dragonite, and we are also going to put it in the party as well. Now, the reason why we're doing this, of course, is because now we are going to take these Pokemon and transfer them over to Pokemon Platinum using the Pal Park. Now, a few things that you need to know when transferring Pokemon into Emerald. You had to have a completed game save. So you actually would have had to defeat the Elite Four in order to use that .gb app, which is the Poké Transporter GB. If you didn't do that, the modification and the glitch does not work, and you might end up losing your Pokemon from Generation 1 and 2. So make sure you meet all of the requirements before we do that. Okay, so we are going to use the move deleter here. We are going to take Surf off of Dragonite. And we are also going to take Cut off of Charizard. Now, I'm a little bit sad to take off Cut and Fissure, and the reason being is that when you actually use the Virtual Console on the 3DS with Pokemon Red, the moves of Cut and the Fissure are fully transferable over through Home and, of course, into Pokemon Sword and Shield. But that's okay. We're going to go down here back to the Pokemon Center, as we will need to save in here, but we'll also have to deposit our Pokemon back to the PC. Okay, now that the Pokemon are back into the party, or rather the PC, we can actually then go ahead and save our game. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our Loopy Nintendo DS, which is a capture device. It allows me to output my video and audio through USB. So I'll be back in a moment once I swap things over. Okay, so now we got the Nintendo DS going. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you have your Pokemon Platinum game save fully completed and you have the Pal Park enabled. So what that means is that you have to beat the Elite Four and you also have to unlock the National Pokédex. In order to do this, just complete the normal Pokédex that's already in Pokemon Platinum, and you end up going and talking to Rowan and Professor Oak, and they unlock the National Dex. So make sure you have that going. So we have Pokemon Platinum in the DS slot, and of course we have the Pokemon Emerald game in our bottom part of our Nintendo DS. So let's go ahead here and start our Pokemon Platinum. And we're going to have the audio going in the background there, so you guys can tell that this is a fully active game. I can probably show you here. As you guys can see, we are using the DS capture. Okay. Lots of cables right now. My desk is a mess. Okay, so let's go ahead here and go into Pokemon Platinum. And I'll show you guys exactly where the Pal Park is if you guys are not familiar. But first thing we're going to do is on the menu system, we're going to go down to where it says Migrate from Emerald. So let's do that now. We're going to hit Yes. And Pokemon cannot be returned to the Game Boy Advanced pack. Make Pokemon migrate to the Pokemon Platinum game card. Okay, now they want us to choose our 6 Pokemon. So that's Squirtle, Pikachu, Dragonite, Charizard, Mewtwo, and Mew. The 6 Pokemon will migrate? Yes, and yes. So this is actually going to take the Pokemon from the game card of Pokemon Emerald and send them through to Pokemon Platinum. Okay, they have been safely migrated to the Pokemon Platinum game card. Okay, so now let's go into Pokemon Platinum here. And as you guys can see, we should be right at Pal Park. Oh, we're actually in a Pokemon Center. My bad. Okay, that's in San Jim Town. Let's see if we can actually fly to the location so you guys don't have to witness the traveling. Perfect. So you're going to fly to Route 221. So this is the Pal Park. I'll show you guys the sign. Pal Park, a place for new beginnings. So this is actually kind of a neat little event. So if you go up to this guy here at the counter, he will ask you if you want to participate in a catching show. So they're going to give you park balls, 6 park balls. As soon as you come across one of your Pokemon, you can throw the park ball at it. It's 100% capture. So let's go ahead and capture our 6 Pokemon. Now it is timed. 3, 2, 1. Start. So you're going to run around in the grass here, and then you're also going to run around on a surfing Pokemon, and then there's also a mountainous area. So let's take a look here. So here is Charizard. That is my very first Pokemon. Kind of funny that that's the first Pokemon that I catch in Pokemon Platinum. But that's awesome. So this should carry over everything that we saw from Generation 3 into Generation 4. Should have the same trainer IDs and should have the exact same attacks. The last attacks that we had on was Flamethrower and Hyper Beam because we had to end up taking off the Fissure. And of course we had to delete Cut. Go figure. Cut on a Charizard? Corey, that's not very competitive. Guys, it was 1998 and we needed an HM slave. We had to cut down that tree in order to get to Vermilion City Gym. Okay, we got ourselves a Mewtwo. Back in the day, he was known as the Destroyer of Pokemon. That Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, and Blizzard just wreaked havoc on all of my friends. So let's go ahead here. We're going to catch our 3rd Pokemon, which is going to be Pikachu. Now, kind of interesting, it's actually a female Pikachu. I didn't actually know that my Pokemon Pikachu is female from Pokemon Yellow, but that's interesting. Okay, so we're going to get our Pikachu here, and that means that we still have Dragonite, Mew, and Squirtle left to catch. So I'm hoping we're going to find Dragonite. Now, I'm going to come into this area here. I don't know if any of them are actually here or not. I don't think there is. Okay, let's go up to the water area and see if we can get ourselves Squirtle. I think Squirtle is in the water, maybe? Maybe it's Dragonite? Could be Mew. Ah, there we go. We got ourselves our Squirtle. So let's go ahead and throw the Pokeball. All right, got ourselves a Squirtle. Now, I don't know if there's any other Pokemon here. Dragonite technically could be flying in this area, but seeing as how no Pokemon are coming up, probably go back to the main grass area. Maybe down to the beach. Go into the water here, maybe. Make sure you have Pokemon that can surf when you do this, just in case you're transferring any water Pokemon. No, would have already popped up, I think. Let's go back to this area. I think Mew's probably going to be the hardest one to find. Come on, Dragonite. Where are you, buddy? Oh my. Now, you can actually only transfer 6 Pokemon a day over to Pal Park. So this could take a very long time, especially if you're transferring all 150 Pokemon. I couldn't imagine anybody actually doing that, but... Okay, what Pokemon is this? Ah, there's Mew. Alright, Mew. Come on into the Pokeball. Okay, that just leaves us our Dragonite left to catch. Now, I think Dragonite's in this area too. I have a feeling he's here. I just don't know where he is. Come on, Dragonite. It's quite the lengthy process, that's for sure. Little mini games. Gotta make it a challenge, right? Come on. Where are you at, buddy? Maybe he is up this way. I couldn't imagine him being in the water. He could be. Now the D-pad on this DS is a little bit wonky. So my movements are not 100% clean. So I do apologize for that. There we go. Alright, Dragonite. Ironically, it's caught and owned by Ash, which, you know, in this day and age, you guys know that Ash actually did have a Dragonite in the end. But back in the day when I had this game save, I had no idea he would have a Dragonite. Alright, so that is all 6 Pokemon obtained. Ding dong! Congratulations! Elena has successfully caught the stocked Pokemon. Congratulations! That's all 6 Pokemon caught. The audience sure enjoyed watching your catching show. Alright, let's see your all-important score from this show. Catching points is 500, time points is 12,056, and type points is 1,300. Total is 3,056 points. Good, that's a decent record. Props to you. It's time for your prize. Here you are. We got an Aguavberry. Not a big deal. I mean, biggest thing is you want to make sure you put all your Pokemon in the PC. Okay, let's check out the Pokemon here. And we're going to go to Move Pokemon. So here is the Pokemon that we have. Check the summary out. We've got Squirtle, which was owned by Norris. It is timid, with the Torrent ability. And of course, it has Hydro Pump, Skull Bash, and Water Gun. Next Pokemon, Pikachu, owned by myself. 61227, Hardy, Static, Thunderbolt, Thundershock, and Thunder. Now, make note here, where it says the nature, it also says it arrived from Kanto at level 100. Okay, Dragonite. Kanto, Inner Focus, Dragon Rage, Blizzard, and Hyper Beam, which is actually what was on the Dragonite when we transferred it. Charizard, owned by Ash. Timid, came from Kanto at level 100. Blaze, Flamethrower, and Hyper Beam are its attacks. Mewtwo was owned by Red, with the ID number of 8317, with the Kanto as being the origin, Pressure, and Fire Blast, Recover, Blizzard, and Thunderbolt. We have Mew with Pound and Transform. Of course, this was something that was modified by the Game Boy Advanced application of Poké Transporter GB. Okay, like I said, Mew is not 100% compatible with being transferred, but the fact that it can convert it into something that works, I'm quite happy with it. And of course, it came from the Hoenn region, because that is the region where we transferred it from. That's the region it was modified in. There was a faraway island, I think, with Mew in the Emerald version, where you had the possibility of getting a shiny one. So that makes sense why it's originating from Hoenn. And that is all 6 of our Pokemon. So for the next step, what you're going to need is you're going to need a second Nintendo DS, a copy of Pokemon White 2 or Black 2. That's what I'm going to be using here. You can use Pokemon White and Black, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're using Black 2, White 2. So let's go back to a Pokemon Center here, and we're going to save within it. And the idea is that we're going to use the DS download play to send the Pokemon over to Generation 5. Now there is a little bit of a mini game there, so you'll have to sit through that as well. Okay, so now we have our 2 Nintendo DS consoles all set up here and ready to go. So you're going to have one that has Pokemon Platinum and the other one which has Pokemon White 2. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, the Pokemon White 2 copy is fully completed. I have access to Black City, and that's exactly where we're going to end up being here in White 2. So let's load up the White 2 copy, and we are going to go into the game. I probably didn't need to launch the C gear, but I did anyway. Force of habit. Okay, so we are in the Pokemon Center here in, I believe, what's called Black City. And we are going to go to a very specific location. So you're going to go outside of the town to the left. We are going to go on to Route 15. You're going to go up the stairs and across the bridge, and you're going to come to this area here. This is known as the Poke Transfer Lab. So we're going to come in. You're going to go all the way upstairs, and you're going to talk to this gentleman here. Hey, le trainer, fantastique. Want to be part of the experiment of the century? You need 2 DS systems to play with Poke Transfer. Do you have a second DS system that you can use? Yes. But remember, once you bring a Pokemon here, you can't send it back. Do you still want to do it? Yes. So we are launching the DS Wi-Fi capabilities. And on the second console, we're going to go to the DS Download Play. Okay, come here. Stand right there. Well, let's begin. Please insert a Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, or Soul Silver version game card in the other DS system. Turn it on. Then select the Poke Transfer ID from DS Download and Play. Okay, so we are going to DS Download and Play, and it's going to look for available software to download. And we are going to click into the transfer. Would you like to download the software? All right, I just changed the audio cable there, guys, so we have the audio. It's downloading currently. Okay. Loading. Please wait a moment. Alright, so we are going to take the 6 Pokemon and slide them to the right. Now, I can't see very well, so I'm doing it here right now. Okay, we're going to click yes because we want to transfer these. And this is a little mini game. So what you got to do is you got to use the little crossbow and fling it towards the Pokemon you wish to catch. Now, I'm not very good at this game. Got one of them. Now it is timed. Come on, guys. What a ridiculous game. Aw, time's up. Do I get to try again? You cannot... Pokemon cannot be transferred once they transfer. Transfer these Pokemon. If I transfer them, do I get all of them? Or do I just get a few? I'm gonna hit yes. I'm hoping I get all of them, but we'll see. Okay, would you like to use transfer again? Yes. I'm gonna have to choose some other Pokemon here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright. You can only transfer 6 Pokemon at a time. Yep. Come on, Mew. There we go. Where's the other one? I don't see him. Oh, he's way up in the back. Where is he? Oh, he wasn't on the field. All right, so it looks like you can actually transfer a lot of your Pokemon, and you can continuously transfer Pokemon, which just seems to be pretty cool. So we're going to click yes for this. Don't turn off the power. So it's actually transferring back and forth between the two consoles. Just give it a moment to save up here. The game has been saved. Are we going to transfer any more Pokemon? That is a negative, sir. Okay, so we are now back over to Pokemon White 2. And we're going to take a look at the PC. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we got our original 6. So let's take a look at them here in the summary. Okay, so we've got Charizard here belonging to Ash. with the ID number of 15276 and the experience points of 1059860. Experience points carried over to. That's cool. It's Timid from Kanto with Flamethrower and Hyper Beam. Okay, let's take a look here. We've got our Dragonite Inner Focus from Ash and Kanto. Pikachu from Corey and Kanto with Hardy. Timid Squirtle from Kanto. And of course, we've got our Mew. Looks like all of the attacks have remained the same. So now we actually have to transfer from our White 2 game into Pokemon Bank. Now in order to do this, we're going to have to save in a Pokemon Center. So we're going to have to go back to Black City and save our game. Okay, so we're going to save here in the Pokemon Center, and next you see us, we're going to be on a Nintendo 3DS console with White 2 in the card slot. Alright guys, so now we are on our Nintendo 3DS console. Now there's a few things that we actually need to do in order to transfer the Pokemon through. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go to the Pokemon Transporter application. This is going to allow us to take the Pokemon from the box in Pokemon White 2 and send them through to Pokemon Bank. So load up your Poké Transporter. And I need my pen. So we are loading it up here. It's going to check the game card that's currently in the console. We're going to use White 2. Okay, so right now it's communicating with the Pokemon Bank server. Okay, Pokemon sent to Pokemon Bank can be returned to the original game from which they were moved. Additionally, any items held by moved Pokemon will be sent automatically to Elena's bag. Please note that your items will simply disappear if your bag is full. Alright, so it wants us to move this box here. This is our first box in Pokemon White 2. So let's go ahead here and move that over. So that's going to be transferred over to Pokemon Bank. Okay. So those have been successfully moved. Please open Pokemon Bank to check the Pokemon in your transport box. Okay, so we're going to hit home. We're going to close Pokemon Transporter. And then we are going to open up Pokemon Bank. Now, while we're doing this, if you were wondering, any Pokemon that we transfer over with the transporter to Bank can then be transferred to any of the 3DS games, such as like X and Y, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Sapphire. There is Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So any of the Pokemon that are compatible with those games, you can then transfer over into those games at this time. So let's go into Pokemon Bank. We're just going to use my Omega Ruby copy for a moment because that's what's currently on the console. And what we're going to do is we're going to transfer them over from the transporter box into the bank box. There's the transport box. Now, I don't know if I can transfer multiple at a time. I'm hoping I can. I'm trying to see my console here. I know I could probably just look at my screen on my computer, but it's a force of habit. Okay, here we go. We've got 2 of them. There's the Squirtle, Mew. Now remember guys, these came all the way from a legit game card of Pokemon Red and are now currently going into Pokemon Bank on the 3DS. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Oh, I need to transfer all the Pokemon. Oh. Okay. They cannot sit in the transporter box. That's okay. And now we can save. Okay, all changes were saved. And we are all set. So the next thing what we're going to do is we're now going to take these Pokemon, send them from Pokemon Bank through to Pokemon Home. Now to do this, you need to have the Bank app, obviously. You need to have your 3DS. You're going to need a Nintendo Switch console and a Pokemon Home subscription. So now that we've got our Nintendo Switch all set up here and ready to go, we're going to launch the Pokemon Home. And we are going to select my correct profile that has my subscription. In Pokemon Bank, we're going to go back to Bank. Okay. So now that we're logging into Pokemon Home, in Pokemon Bank, you're going to move Pokemon to Pokemon Home. So select this option on your 3DS. And we are going to have to scroll here. We're going to begin. We're going to select Bank 1. And we're going to hit Done. We're going to click Yes. And then over on your Nintendo Switch console, you're going to go down to where it says Move. We're going to hit Begin Move. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to put in the code that the Pokemon Home gives us into the Pokemon Bank. So we're going to do that now. So 8, 6, L, 5, TT, R, oh, that's a P, R8, F, J, F, V, W, U, Q, C. Okay, so it has successfully been confirmed. All right, time to get your Pokemon all moved into their new home in, well, Pokemon Home. It might take a little time to finish, so sit tight. Now on the Switch, you should have a message that says the moving key has been entered in Pokemon Bank. Successfully move, preparations will begin. You'll be unable to use Pokemon Home until the move is complete. Alright, so after about 5 to 10 minutes, you guys can go back into your Pokemon Bank, and it will say that the move preparation is complete. These Pokemon have been moved, okay? I know I didn't read that right, I apologize. My brain's kind of mush right now because of all the moves that we did. So how would you like to move them to boxes in Pokemon Home? We're just going to move all boxes as they are, and they will be basically sent over through to Pokemon Home into the proper boxes. So it's going to save our Pokemon Home here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move Pokemon from Pokemon Home into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So you're going to go into the Pokemon here for your deposits. I'm going to change my game profile because my actual game save that I use for competitive is under a different profile than my home. So we're going to select our game, Pokemon Scarlet. And we should see the Pokemon that have been transferred. There we are. So we actually have Charizard, Dragonite, Pikachu, Squirtle, Mew, and we have Mewtwo. Now, if we actually take a look at their attacks here, let's take a look here at the Charizard. We still have Flamethrower and Hyper Beam. As you guys can see here behind me, it's just poor camera choice on my end. You guys can see that it came from the Kanto region with the same ID number in OT. Dragonite is the same. Pikachu is also the same. Squirtle. Mew has the modified characteristics that were put in by the Poké Transporter GB. Mewtwo still has Fire Blast, Blizzard, and Thunderbolt. And of course, you know, the other Pokemon that came with it are also there as well. Okay, so we are going to move these into our PC in Pokemon Scarlet. So let's find a box here that has a good amount of space in it. There we go. That will work. So we're going to take Mewtwo. We're putting it over here. Now, as you guys can see, the moves have actually changed. It's added Mist and Psystrike. So in order to go in and set the moves, you actually have to go in and set them yourself. There is Fire Blast. And the nice thing about Pokemon Home is that it remembers the attacks that were on it. So we have to find the other move. There was Blizzard. Okay, so we added those back. Here's Mew. We're putting Mew over to the party, or into the box 12 rather. Here's our Pikachu. Now, of course, the moves have actually changed with Pikachu as well. So it has, we had Thunder Shock to it, Thunderbolt, Thunder, and we'll see, I don't think Surf comes up here as a move. No. So Surf is not something that was on it when it was transferred, so it doesn't remember it. So we're just going to give it Iron Tail for now. Okay, we're going to take Squirtle. And for Squirtle, we're going to change the moves. So it actually got some pretty decent ones here, so we might end up keeping them the way he is. It does have Wave Crash, Hydro Pump, Iron Defense, and Shell Smash. That's pretty cool, actually. Let's take Dragonite. Change the moves here. So it has Safeguard, Rain Dance, Dragon Dance, and Hyper Beam. So right off the bat, we know that the moves are a little bit not right. We're going to give it Blizzard. I think it had Dragon Rage, so let's put Dragon Rage back on it. It actually doesn't have Dragon Rage as an option. Cool. Next best thing, we're going to put Outrage, and we'll leave it the way he is. We're going to take Charizard. Put Charizard over. We're going to change the moves. We're going to put his Hyper Beam back on. His Flamethrower. Air Slash. And that is Flare Blitz. What else do we have here? Let's give Dragon Claw. Now, what's Mew get? What can Mew have? Transform, Reflect Type, Amnesia, and Pound. Interesting. Okay, we are going to save and exit. Now, all of these Pokemon should appear in box 12 in our Pokemon Scarlet game. So just to put it in perspective, we actually took all of those Pokemon from this Pokemon Red cartridge. Pretty impressive, considering that this is from 1990. Well, Pokemon Red came out in Japan in 1995, so it's pretty impressive that it came from an old Game Boy cartridge right through the generation. If it weren't for the fact that that Poké Transporter app was available, we would have had to go an alternative route in order to get the Pokemon from this game card into our actual game save. So let's load up our Pokemon Scarlet copy here and take a look at the PC. Okay. Now, the good thing about Pokemon Home is that you can actually move Pokemon in and out regardless if your game save is complete or not. It's the same thing with the Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transport. The only requirement of Bank and Transport is you had to be in a Pokemon Center in order to use them. Okay, so here we are. We are actually in Blueberry Academy right now. So let's take a look at our boxes. Let's load up box number 12. And as you guys can see, we have our Pokemon here. So we actually have our Mewtwo. We're going to put these into our party here. We've got Mew. We've got Pikachu. Squirtle. Dragonite. And Charizard. So, let's take a look at these Pokemon here just to make sure that they actually pair up with what we transferred. So we've got Mewtwo from Red at 8317. And it's got Pressure and a Hardy Nature. We've got Mew from Aura. Pikachu from me, Corey. We've got Squirtle from my friend back in 98. We've got Dragonite from my original game save. And we've got Charizard from my original Pokemon Red. This is my original Charizard, guys. And I'm really pumped to be able to bring him all the way up to Pokemon Scarlet and potentially into competitive. Mind you, we're going to have to use a little bit of some gold bottle caps and some resetting of effort values. But if we take a look here, the fact that we managed to bring them all the way over from Kanto, from the Game Boy cartridge, this is huge, guys. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Hopefully you are enjoying this little video. If you are, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Post your comments in the comment section below. I would like to hear from you guys what you think and if you'll be trying it out. Now look at this. We are actually having a picnic in the Paldea region with my original Pokemon. Now, mind you, they're a little shocked by my trainer, but that's perfectly fine. We have my Charizard, we have my Pikachu, we've got my Dragonite, my Mewtwo, my Mew, and of course my little old Squirtle. So take care, guys. Have an awesome day, and I hope you too will be reunited with your old friends from Kanto. Peace out.